Hi everyone, now I'm going to be dyeing this cape, this jungle cock cape, fluorescent yellow. This is a friend asked me if I could dye him this jungle cock, and as you can see I've got to wash it first. I'll basically just make sure the feathers get a light wash, and this is just fairy liquid, some warm water straight out the tap, it's nothing more than that, and I just simply wash the cape. I'll just lightly wash it. I don't want to mess up the eyes by breaking them, so I'm just going to put them in. The issue I have is the larger eyes on the top of this cape have been stuck together before I got it, so they're going to probably come apart. It's to make it look good. They do that if you're when they advertise or show a cape. It's just they get more money for it if the eyes are whole, but that's just what happens. But anyway, the rest of the main eyes are reasonable, they're good. Now in this one, the fluorescent yellow will certainly highlight the sort of light colour in these. I've got other ones that are practically pure white, I've got a couple other colours to dye, but this one's going to be fluorescent yellow. And once I've gave it a quick wash, and just leave it steep in a way, just so that the water's actually in the feathers. It's through the feathers, and then the dye can take it much quicker. You don't want to be stewing these capes. The more you do that, the more the eyes will slightly or split. But they do split when you start to fish them anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much. But you don't want to overdo it. You can see, I don't know if you can see there, but the eyes kind of come in, curl a wee bit, just fold round, because they have been flattened to make the cape, so you can see the eyes much better. Just basically pressed. So anyway, that's it washed. It doesn't take long, and then I'm going to dye the cape. I'm ready for the dye. Now this is Veniard's fluorescent yellow dye. Now all I'm going to do is just put, I mean this is a large spoon, but you don't need much to dye a cape, or much of the dye. That's about it. That's all you need. This water's just come to it's not far away from the boil, so I'm mixing the dye in. Just make sure it's dissolved. Just a wee quick look, actually I'm going to put a wee drop more. I should do it. It's ready for putting the cape in. Always put the lid on the dye, you don't want to knock it over. Now, just as I say, keep mixing. Make sure it's dissolved. It looks dissolved to me. Now I've got the cape in here. It's ready, because you can lift it straight from there into the dye, and you can actually do that at the moment. You can do it straight away. So you can just allow it to, it'll give it time to soak in. So just make sure the dye, it doesn't take long to dye the cape. I mean, once it comes to the boil, with fluorescent yellow it's quite easy to dye. Try and keep it this end. Now the pot I use, this is my dyeing pot. Don't use your pot. Use an old one. Someone asked me about that before. Just basically, if you've got an old pot, or buy one from a boot sale or somewhere, and just use it for dyeing your feathers. I'm not saying you can't do it, but I wouldn't recommend it. The good lady wouldn't like it. But anyway, we'll just get into the dye, and then once the dye starts to basically go into it, I can see it starting to do that. Then you can add and a bit mist, a bit steamy there. We can set it. Now, white vinegar or some sort of acid, there's 2 or 3 things you could use, but white vinegar is what I normally use. I don't really measure it, just make sure there's enough. A fuel goes into it. You know yourself how much to put in. It's just coming to the boil there. Just keep mixing it around. Making sure the dye takes the heat of the water. Just coming to the boil is enough for jungle cock without basically destroying the cape. You need to be careful. But these capes, when you're dyeing them anyway, they're not the best. This will improve the cape, so it will. And we just keep an eye on it. Steam it. Keep mixing it so that the dye is going through all the feathers. Now all I'm doing here is making sure, once you know when the dyes come out, because the water starts to go clear. It's starting to get a lot lighter. Now you don't overdo it. Basically you'll get enough colour of the jungle cock. This is basically highlighting the colour or slightly enhancing the jungle cock. I mean, some jungle cock eyes are very white. This one has a wee bit of colour, so I don't want to lose that. You'll not lose it anyway with fluorescent yellow. Now what I'm going to do here, just going to lift it out. A wee quick look, you can see the colour. We're going to give it much longer. That should do it. There's a wee bit of dye still left in there. There's enough dye in the cape, so what I then do is just put this into the sink. Cold water. And there we are. That's it dyed. That's it. Sorry, painted dye. You can see there's plenty of colour in the cape. And what we'll do now is I use a tool to take out as much of the water as I can. So I'll get now. This is our cape. You can see it's still wet. I've got an old towel. Always don't throw your old towels out. And what I'm going to do is just press it, just to take out the excess water. Now I do this with capes. This is basically just a cape. So if you imagine this being a cock cape, hen cape, it's exactly the same method I'd use to take out the water and dye the cape. Got a big towel here, so let's keep doing it. Keep it flat, and then just give a wee Now you can let the jungle cock dry naturally. Just keep the feathers open, and then what you will have to do is to press it. To press it, what I do is I put it between 2 sheets of paper, white paper, no markings on it. Press it with some books, and that will flatten the jungle cock again. But what I'm going to actually do here is I'm actually going to lightly dry this with a hairdryer. So which I wouldn't always recommend doing, but I've got it on a low setting, heat setting, so I can get I'm going to get that dry in between the feathers. But you can see how nice that cape is just by highlighting it with fluorescent yellow. It's really brightened the jungle cock up. You've still got the warmth of the tip of the eye. I mean, it looks really good. Bring it up a wee bit closer so you can see it. So we'll give it a wee dry with the hairdryer. Light, warm, not too warm, just light. So I just basically blow into it. Just blowing into the feather. Now there we are. Now I'm going to get a sheet of white paper just to show you what it looks like. Now as I say, what I do is, while it's still damp, I lay the jungle cock down, and I get another sheet. But what I'm going to do is just let you see the jungle cock first. As you can see, the eyes. I mean, this wasn't the best cape. This is why it's been dyed, because this helps. Now, when you're tying a salmon fly or whatever you're going to use the jungle cock for, it's adding the fluorescent yellow to the fly. It's good in a woolly gun. It's really, really good in a woolly gun. It's very good in a few other flies. Now, the other thing I like to do is, if you can put it onto a piece of card, but this is the jungle cock. What I like to do is just get another sheet of paper, and then, as I say, while it's still damp, sorry, I press it. I just put another sheet on top, and then I lay books, old books on top of it, not ancient books. Some heavy, it doesn't have to be books, but books are very good. You can just sit it on the top. Even you can get the pot and sit the pot on top with water in it. If you haven't got anything, just put some water in it, and I'll give you the weight. You set the pot on it, and then just leave it. I mean, you could leave it. I would have an hour or two, and you'd be surprised the difference it makes. But once it's nearly dry, you want the skin to be flat. So I'll let you see it once it's done. But basically, that's the jungle cock. A wee bit of water on that there. But anyway, that's your jungle cock cape. So anyway, I hope you found that useful. And as I say, if I was dyeing a hen or a cock neck or a saddle, I'd use the exact same method. Wash it, do the same thing again, put in the dye, put enough dye in to suit. Now you've got to remember, the more skin there is, the more dye you need, because the skin will soak up quite a lot of the dye. So you've got to adjust the amount of dye you put in. So the bigger the cape, the more feathers and more dye. Simple as that. This is just a small jungle cock cape, and it takes the dye really easy, as you can see. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.